Um, I don't want to spoil it and spoil the ending. Uh, when I started making films, I actually had to write my own screenplays because I had no credibility as a director. And there were a lot of directors around, but there weren't many viable screenplays. So I started with my first film, which was called Shivers. Here it was called They Came From Within. It was a horror film. And from that evolved my own feeling that a filmmaker should write his own screenplays. That's not exactly the French auteur theory, but you could think of it as an author theory. If it's really your film, you should write it and direct it. Um, but then, at a certain point, after having done that 4 or 5 times, I ended up making The Dead Zone, which was based on Stephen King's novel. And that was a really great experience for me. I really enjoyed that, and I thought the film was really good. And I began to realize that to fuse yourself, to fuse your own DNA with another artist, in this case Stephen King, allowed you to create something new that neither one of you would have done on his own. And so after that, I stopped worrying about the question of authorship in that sense. And ultimately, that led me to a movie, The Naked Lunch, or Naked Lunch. It was published both ways. It was The Naked Lunch and Naked Lunch. Um, it was my fusion with William Burroughs. It was an interesting guy to fuse with, if you know his work. Um, but it was very complete because I really soaked myself in all the writing that had surrounded William, not just his work, but the work of many great writers around him, and the whole Beat generation of writers, and Jane and Paul Bowles, and Allen Ginsberg, and so on. And so by that time, and then at a certain point, I talked to William. Now, because I was younger than he was, I called him William. Only his close friends called him Bill. So William. So I said, William, I think the only way that I can make this movie is because Naked Lunch is not exactly a traditional narrative book. I said, the only way I can do this is to incorporate into the screenplay that I'm writing a lot of your own life, a lot of your biography, and in particular the fact that he shot his wife accidentally and killed her. And he said, I have no problem with that. I don't separate my art from my life at all, so go ahead. And so because of that, because of the way that I had sort of really soaked myself in Burroughsiana, and because I then had access to incidents that were biographically true about his life, it felt to me like the most complete fusion that I ever had with another writer. And when I was writing the screenplay, I at times honestly, and I've never had that feeling before or since, but I really felt I was channeling William and I was writing his words, it was really, and of course sometimes literally it was, but other times I was inventing things that he would never have invented. You'll see a lot of that in the movie. There's a lot of me in there and then a lot of him. And he was very happy with the movie. It had a strange genesis in that I went to Tangier with William and Jeremy Thomas, who produced it. It was the first time he'd been back at Tangier, where he had lived many years, for about 20 years. And we went there and we met Paul Bowles, who had never left Tangier once he lived there. And we were doing location scouting because we intended to shoot in Tangier to create the world that William had invented called Interzone, meaning the international zone, which actually Tangier was. It was a zone of, international customs-free zone. And so we had an incredible experience of returning to Tangier with Burroughs after about 20 years. It was quite amazing. We went back to Toronto. I went to Toronto, Jeremy went back to London. And then the first Gulf War happened. And we couldn't shoot in Tangier because nobody could get insurance to fly anywhere in the Mediterranean. And Jeremy said, I guess that's it, the movie's over. And I said, no, we're gonna create Interzone in Toronto, which is my hometown. Because Interzone was never really Tangier, it was a kind of an invented, strange Barosian wonderland. And I said, I think we could, it might even improve it to not be nailed down to the realities of Tangier. We've done a lot of research, we've done photos, we've done everything. Let's shoot it here. And that's what we did. So, I don't know what more I can tell you without spoiling some of the movie, so I won't do that. I'm glad you showed up, because I'm never sure, you know. Anybody will. I'm always grateful. And I hope you enjoy the movie. I had a great time making the film, and I hope you have a great time watching it. Thanks.